Hi, ever wonder what it's like to work another profession or live in the underworld? Listen to unsuspecting riders give a 10 to 15 minute personal masterclass as I spontaneously interview them as they enter my taxi. I'm your host, Simon Rushton, and this is Taxi Chronicles. Morning. Yes, we're back with another rider, another episode, another story. Today we have a lovely lady all the way from down under, and she's going to share her experience about how she come to London, and she ended up being in the legal side of things. She's corporate, not criminal, guys, so anyone who needs a lawyer, this is not the lady for you. And yes, just her experience, and to the sad fact of why she's leaving us, going back down under. So nice to have you today, Sally. Hello. Okay, so tell us, what made you come to London?
Like many Aussies before me, I guess. Lots of Australian lawyers do it. We come to London, we get paid more, we do cool things, and we can go to Europe every weekend. That's literally it. We all just travel. That's why COVID sucks.
So you're a real walkabout.
Yeah, well, Australia's so far from everything. So if you want to take a holiday, you have to save up 5 weeks of annual leave to take a massive, big, spend thousands of dollars on a big Euro trip. Whereas like here, you can book a £50 flight with EasyJet and go to Greece for the weekend, or Paris on the Eurostar, or we love that.
Okay, so I heard you indicate about being a lawyer already. Were you a lawyer prior to coming to England?
Yeah. Lots of Australian and New Zealand lawyers come to England because it's common law system, so we have very similar legal systems. We actually use English case law in Australia if we don't have case law that covers it. We'll refer to it and stuff. Yeah, so it's very similar.
Oh yeah, so how old is Australia as a country since the British got there?
Oh god, it's over 200 years, 1788.
Okay, 1788. So I see why, because
it's pre-baby.
This country is not. England was formed in 927 AD, and Britain was formed in 11.
I'm pretty sure the flat I'm in right now is older than Australia.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I saw a house yesterday and it said 1891, and I thought, what? The house didn't look like it was that old, but it said 1891.
Well, I think they're all Victorian conversion, whatever. So it's actually probably not older than Australia. But when we went to do the insurance, they're like, when was your building built? And we asked the landlord, and he was like, sometime in the 1800s, and we were like, okay. And then we told the insurer, and they were like, can you give us an exact year? And we were like, 1850? I don't know.
Okay. Okay. So you've moved to, what was the law like in Australia for you, practicing in law?
I'm going to possibly offend my English colleagues. It's much better.
Okay, why?
People in Australia are much more chill. It's a lot more casual. It's more banter, less formal. It's very formal here. I think the legal profession is quite formal and it's quite hierarchical, but I think definitely here much more so. Just the people that you work with are more formal. People you work for, it's different. It's less. It's just probably not. And you also work a lot harder here, a lot harder.
Some people would say it's down to the climate. If it was sunny here, everybody would have swimming pools or communal swimming pools, and you'd have much more of the Barbie atmosphere, and then people would just be chilled.
Yeah.
But because it's grey and raining most of the time, we have 2 weeks of summer.
Everyone's on edge. I mean, I would not say, and everyone loves talking about the weather here. They're obsessed, and it's actually not that, apart from the fact that it's not great, it's not that interesting either. It's always just average. It doesn't really snow, or it doesn't really get that hot. It's just like today. It's literally grey and spitting.
Okay. Did you find that you settled in easily when you came here?
Yeah. London's a great city to live in, definitely. It's a very fun city to live in. We move here not just for Europe. We do love London.
You moved with your partner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I say we as well, I mean all the Australians that I know, because all my friends are Australian.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, that was my next question. Did you just move from one country into a mini version of Australia here?
I mean, I think it just happens because I think we come here and we all want to do the same thing, and like we're all. I think maybe English people don't want to become friends with us because they think that we're temporary. I don't know. I do have some English friends, but like the people I spend most of my time with are all other Australians.
Okay, that's interesting. So we were speaking earlier about the law.
Yeah.
And corporate law.
Yeah.
Do you want to just recap on that for us?
So the reason why there are so many corporate lawyers in London is because for contract law, a lot of anyone that's doing a big project or a big deal, if they're from sort of two jurisdictions that maybe don't have a legal system that's as developed and as reliable as the English legal system, a lot of them use English law contracts, which is why English law firm's so big. But I work on projects all over the world, so I don't just do things that are in England. It's always using English law contracts. And then everyone thinks that the courts are more reliable in England if something goes wrong. So I think that's just a pretty standard view kind of internationally. If you're going to do something really big, then you'll use English contract law. You can't always, but where possible, people do. Whereas people don't really use Australian law outside of Australia. Maybe for like some projects in Asia and stuff. I'm a projects lawyer, so that's probably why I keep saying project. But yeah, that's why.
But I suppose if they use an Australian law, it kind of connects back to England anyway.
Well, yeah, it does, because our legal system's based on the English legal system, obviously.
So if there was any major discrepancies, it could be taken all the way to England. Is that right?
No, you'd still go to the Australian courts.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to Australian courts first. But go on, sorry.
Yeah, well, you go to Australian courts, but if they're trying to interpret something in the law and there's no case law in Australia, or like there's like the House of Lords here, which sort of as it goes, they might use kind of precedent from that. Sometimes we deviate and we've got different precedent, but often it's called the common law position will be quite similar as between Australia and England. But we don't. So in Australia, we'll use Australian law for things that we do in Australia because Australian laws are quite established and quite reliable as well. Same as like in America, they'll use. Well, it depends on what state they'll use, but they'll use US law. It's other sort of like more obscure. Like if you're doing a project in Africa, like a big oil and gas project in Africa, they'll use English law contracts.
Yeah.
Or financing. They love using English law for financing.
Yeah, I suppose it'd be either English law or French law, I would have thought, because French have a stronghold in Africa as well.
Yeah, lots of Francophone countries. I'm not actually. I mean, I guess they do. There's also lots of like the Portuguese in Africa. I don't know if they use Portuguese law sometimes, but certainly, obviously, I've only seen when they use English law, but they do quite a lot.
What do you love about England and what do you hate?
Oh, such a tough question. What do I love about England? I hate the weather. That's easy.
Okay.
Oh, now I'm going to look really horrible, so I can't think of anything straight away.
Really? Well, we can't be that bad then.
No, it's not. No, yeah, there's lots of things I like about England. I like its geographical location.
Okay. I love the land. The people, I just like, okay.
The people are nice. They are nice. A bit hard to get to know, but they are nice.
Have you only lived in London?
Yeah, I've only lived in London. Yeah. So that's why it's hard when you say England, because I'm like, well, I think London's quite different to lots of other parts of England as well. So.
Yeah, we set a precedence, like any capital in the world. You set a precedence for where things are going.
Yeah. In
that respect, so yeah, we're not let's say the traditional thing in that respect.
Yeah, I love the English countryside. I love English pubs, pub life. Definitely one of the best pubs in the world.
Hey, you got quite a few pubs. You call them pubs in Australia?
We do, but I think like pub culture here is better. There's just lots of nicer pubs, and like the whole pub meal is a real thing, and like Sunday roast. I really like that.
What's your heritage?
I have. Oh, I don't know. Does that reveal my identity? Not really.
No, it shouldn't do.
I've got European background.
Your name's Sally.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
There's so many people called Sally in this podcast. But
I figured that might be a go-to.
Yeah.
I've got European.
Sally or Bob. Yeah.
Sally and Bob. I've got European background.
Okay.
So I've got European passport as well.
Okay.
Come from a family of immigrants, basically. But I'm second generation.
Well, I'm first generation here. I am.
What's your background?
Caribbean, Jamaican.
Jamaican.
Yeah, but we've obviously been in the empire involuntarily for the last 400 years.
I mean, you're a Commonwealth as well, right? Are you a Commonwealth as well?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Queen's your queen?
Yeah. We've been Commonwealth for a very long time.
Yeah.
Very, very long time. I don't think the Queen ever wants to let us go. Yeah.
I don't even remember the last time she came to Australia.
Really?
No, I don't think
She's
so.
the head of...
She's our head of state, yeah. But I don't think she really knows what's going on.
It's like Canada as well.
Yeah, Canada, New Zealand.
Yeah.
South Africa, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not sure about South Africa.
No, they've got presidents now. That's not right, yeah.
But you can have can you have a president and the Queen still be head of state?
No, don't. You have a prime minister. So you have
Well, you can still be in the Commonwealth then, because Kenya's got a president and a prime minister, and they're in the Commonwealth.
Okay.
But
because that's one of the things Australia says, like, oh, if we go republic, like, who's going to be the head of state and how are we going to deal with that? It's all too hard. We'll just keep the Queen.
And you have a strong connection, and you have quite a few perks in being able to come over here.
Not really. We get it's a 2-year visa.
It's still a long.
Yeah.
You know, other nations would die for that.
Yeah, true.
And you have that thing where you don't even have to say how much money you've got. You just come over like on a student thing or something.
It's youth mobility visa, I think. Maybe or something.
Yeah.
It's like before you turn 31, you can come over here for 2 years and you can work. Everything like that, which is pretty good. What's the thing about declaring how much?
Do you know how? Imagine you offered that to even Jamaica. Imagine how people would be happy.
So there's not a similar sort of visa program for Jamaica.
You get that for, from my understanding, you get that for Australia, maybe Kiwis.
Kiwis get it too, yeah. Maybe Canadians.
Yeah,
I don't know if they really use it though.
There's a trend here. What we're looking at here, you may not realise.
Yeah. I see it.
Oh yeah. All the other kind of countries. Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it doesn't even go both ways, because we can come here on that visa and we can work in whatever profession we want for as long as we want. Whereas in the UK, when the UK people come to Australia, they can only work in a job for 6 months. So it's really hard to hold down a proper job if you can only be there for 6 months. And after the first year, you have to go do farm work and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, to get the second year. So they send them out to the desert and whatnot, or really rural properties and stuff. So it's actually not even reciprocal. We have a way better deal coming here than they do coming to us.
So do you really want to mess it up? Just over the state, a figurehead?
Yeah. Well, I'm here on a European passport, so...
Yeah. You may be... I'm not sure how common that is, or uncommon, but, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's actually not going to be very helpful after, 31st of December?
Yeah, but they will make something work for you.
You reckon, for the Europeans?
For Australians.
Yeah.
They will. They're not... They're gonna... Remember, Boris said, he went there and said, "You are us."
Did he?
Yes, he did. You don't know about that. Yeah, he said that. Yeah, so...
Recently?
Yeah. Well, Boris hasn't been in power for that long,
I was going to say that, yeah.
So the fact that he said that, indicates things. So you say you're going back.
Yep.
Why are you leaving us? Why is the lovely Sally leaving us?
COVID kind of ruined everything. We can't go home. I'm very close to my family and I can't visit because Australia closes borders. I don't know if you know, so it's impossible to get flights. And then once you get there, they make you do 2 weeks of quarantine in a hotel and it costs $4,000. Ooh. Or it's $3,000 for one person, $4,000 for a couple.
But if you go home good, are they going to make you pay that?
Yep, I've still got to pay it to repatriate.
That doesn't make sense.
Yep. Yeah,
because you're saying, well, I'm coming home. No one else wants me. And they say, you got to pay.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Would you say that's corruption? Is it necessary?
So lots of people aren't paying it, and there's human rights, people saying, oh, it's illegal because.
Who decided that? The president.
So each state manages their own quarantine, but the prime minister, the national prime minister, obviously, I think they're kind of involved. But every state has basically said, if you want to come into our state, you've got to. So it used to be the government paid for it. So in the beginning, so you still had to do the quarantine, but you didn't have to pay for it. And I think it was June, July or something. They said, no, you have to pay for it as well.
They could have just as well put up major tents with air conditioning and barbed wire in the outback.
They are literally doing that as well.
Just do that, innit? Just
they're using the refugee, the asylum seeker
system
facilities in Northern Territory to get the people who basically can't, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to get on a flight, like lots of families and stuff, and they can't afford to pay for it, because the commercial flights are really expensive now, because the airlines are like, well, we can only take 30 people at a time, because they've capped the number of people that can get in. So if you've got a flight that usually has hundreds of people and now you can only have like 30 people, obviously they're going to jack up the price. They're going to give preference to business class and first class passengers. So there's loads of people who can't afford to get home. So the government's been sending repatriation flights, which are still $2,000 a flight. They're not that cheap. And then they're sending them to the Northern Territory, and they get put in the basically the asylum seeker facilities.
And you're going to go back to deal with all of that?
No, I'm going to hotel quarantine instead, which is what
the corporate career is paying off.
Well, it's also hard to get on those DFAT flights, like the Department of Foreign Affairs and Training. It's really hard to get on those anyway, because you've got to be like vulnerable and stuff like that.
COVID, I don't see how that warrants you going home, because it's not going to be forever.
No, but it's lots of things. You know, we're both close to our family. We weren't going to be here forever. Probably would have stayed a couple more years, but
now's a better time than
like older grandparents and things like, you know, I got really stressed when all the COVID stuff happened. I was like, you know, what if something happens to one of you guys? I can't get home. And also, like, Australia's just a pretty great place to live. The weather's good, you know, we've got great beaches, all our friends are there.
Okay.
I don't even know, like, I definitely would want to raise family and stuff in Australia. It's a good place to be.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, last but not least, the final question we ask all our guests.
Yep.
What's the impact you want to have in the world?
Oh, that's a good one. So I work in renewable energy, so I would really like to make a difference to what's happening back home. That's another reason to move home. We're very, very behind the rest of the world.
You're fracking that rock, aren't you? Your Ayers Rock.
No, we're not.
No, I thought you were going to...
I hope not.
Yeah, that's what I was watching a documentary about the Prime Minister or President.
Yeah, he took a lump of coal into Parliament. It was quite disappointing. No, we are. There is change coming, hopefully, because half the East Coast is on fire at the beginning of this year, so something has to change, and it will happen. So that's my contribution. Is I want to go home and make that happen. Build lots of wind farms and solar farms and whatnot. Or not build them, just do the contracts for them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for that. Much appreciated.
No worries. Hope someone finds.
We hope you liked that interview. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to get the latest daily episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economy and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources? Then listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you will hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m.